That looks good. What's that?
It's wine unknown. Welcome to Wine Unknown. I'm your host. My name is Bryant Fennell, also known as Bright Guy, and I'm a wine specialist. What does that even mean? Well, it means that I know a lot of information about wine, and I want to share that along with my passion with you guys. So no matter where you're at in your journey, no matter if it's the beginning, the middle, well, let's face it, there's no such thing as the end. This is the show for you. Last week's episode was good, right? Hopefully you enjoyed it because that was a lot to try to cover within a little bit of time and trying to simplify it. Whatever, it doesn't even matter. Let's keep on going with the next grape varietal, and that's going to be Tempranillo. I love a great Tempranillo. You hear that? Great. Because there are good ones and there are not so good ones, but more often than not, you will find a great one at a reasonable price. I don't even know how they can charge this amount for these great wines. Oh my goodness. Like, we're talking anywhere from $12 to $20. You can find some really good Tempranillo. But we'll jump into that. All right. So hopefully you're having a good commute or you're just listening to this while you drink coffee. Let's learn a little bit more about Tempranillo. So Tempranillo is this red wine that comes from this grape varietal that's pretty much like, it's dark. It's like this black kind of like purple kind of color for its skin. It's really deep with the color of the skin of the grape. And it's so plump and it has so much juice to it, or so much flesh, as you would say. So if you were to squeeze it, juice would just be dripping out of your hand, just imagine just squeezing it. You're going to get a good serving or a good helping of juice that's going to come from out of the grape. Unlike other grapes that might be smaller, and when you squeeze them, not so much juice is going to start gushing out of it, you would say. So this lets you know that this, what kind of size do I want to say? It could be the size of one grape could grow as large as, what do we have? Our coin golden dollars in US currency, those dollar coins, it could be the size of that, but just in a sphere. So I'm just trying to put a picture to how large and plump these grapes can get. And a big reason for that is because this grape varietal, its home is in Spain. And that's where you're going to find a lot of the plantings for it. Predominantly all of the planting for Tempranillo is going to come out of Spain. But right after Spain is, you guessed it, the connecting part, which would be Portugal. And then you could find sprinkles of Tempranillo elsewhere in the world. But you won't see the name Tempranillo like how when you're reading a label, you'll just see that it's from a specific area within Spain, and that's how you know that, oh, this is going to be a Tempranillo. If you do see Tempranillo on the label, big font somewhere, it's probably more times than not a grape varietal that's coming out of Cali or something like that, where they're putting the name on the label. But majority of the time, you're just going to see either Rioja, Ribera del Duero, Toro, or La Mancha on the label. And that automatically lets you know that this is a Tempranillo, and it's coming from Spain, because all of those are areas in Spain that cultivate this grape varietal. Now, they all have different styles. They all taste vastly different because of the climate, the microclimates, everything that goes into their terroir. Now, Spain is this warm to hot climate country that gets a lot of sunshine. And as a result of that, you get these really large, plump, juicy grape varietals that has a lot of sugar into it. So once you're turning that into wine, you're going to get high percentage alcohol. that pushes the aromas forward. Definitely like fruit forward aromas such as like cherry, strawberry, dried blueberry, dried blackberry. You're going to start getting aromas like that initially. And then it's going to start following with the oak aging influence aromas such as like cinnamon, vanilla, cedar, things like of that nature. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, definitely depending on where it's coming from. They also have something in common, such as their aging requirement terms. There are 4 different levels for it. One of them you probably won't see outside of Spain, but the other 3 you have definitely seen before. So we're talking about Tinto being the youngest. Then you move up to Crianza, then it's Reserva and Gran Reserva. So Tinto is just little to no oak aging for the wine. The one that you're going to see more would be Crianza and higher, right? So Crianza is when the wine has been aging in oak for 6 to 12 months. Then after that, you want to go to Reserva. Reserva is when the wine has spun 12 months in the oak aging process, but also up to 2 years of bottle aging in the cellar before it hits any market. And then when you think you can't do any more, you can always do more. You can do the Gran Reserva, which is anywhere from 18 to 24 months in oak aging with up to 4 years of bottle aging in the cellar before it hits market. Gran Reservas you don't see too often because that's a lot of time. So we're talking about the winery holding on these wines for 6 years or potentially 6 years before allowing it to hit the market and them generating any revenue off of it. So you don't see those ones as often. And honestly, you'll probably be better off just getting a Reserva. So I was at a seminar for Spanish wines a couple days ago, actually, and I've learned a lot. I did learn a lot, and I'll share that with you in the episode when we're actually talking about Spain. But what the presenter said was, if you ask any winemaker from Spain which type of wine is the best one to get that really represents what you're conveying, all of them will say Reserva. So I don't know, you can take that as whatever you want to, however you want to, but I would think that that's a fair assumption, because Reservas, that's like that front, like it has a good amount of oak aging, and then also it has some time just sitting in a bottle, just resting, letting everything kind of just like intertwine. Crianza, that's still pretty young. It's not really fully developed. That's like a toddler, It's just like, all right, I see you getting in the mix. You're starting to get a little bit of personality, but you still need a lot of guidance. Gran Reservas is just like, all right, you have matured. You've seen some things. You're well seasoned. I don't know how you're going to do out in the world because I've been protecting you for so long, but let's see. And, Tinto is just like, all right, juice bomb. This is what people are going to like, but it really doesn't represent our land. So that's how I personally internalize what the presenter was saying about these different styles of wine. And I just want that to sit with you for a second. So you probably want to rewind and, take notes or just have mental notes. So when you're purchasing Tempranillo from Spain, you kind of have a better idea of what you want to spend and what you're looking for. So let me help you a little bit more with making a decision by telling you some of the characteristics that you may come across when you're looking for these wines, right? So within like its youth stage, we're talking about the Tintos and the Crianza. Just expect these to be some juicy red fruit flavors with herbs and maybe a spicy kick to it. When we say spicy kick, we're talking about like baking spices, not like heat, right? But then once it has a little bit more aging, something like a reserva, now you're starting to expect some red and black fruit flavors. You also might get some like dried herbs or dried roses that you can smell. And then we're talking about deeper pocket of baking spices, because now we might jump into like the clove, the nutmeg, some tobacco. You're starting to get in that world when you're looking at a reserva. Now, a Gran Reserva, oh man, just imagine all of those fruits and herbs and spices just aging for so long. So the fruits are going to become more dried out. So now you're getting dried red and black fruit flavors. So just think of like fig, just think along those kind of lines when we're talking about dried fruits. But you're also going to start getting like cinnamon and cedar. Just imagine like that cigar box kind of aroma and flavors going through. You might also get something like that old leather, or like crinkled up like leaves. Just think of like potpourri or something like that. When like the leaves are just all crunchy. I guess you would say just think of like fall or autumn kind of like aromas from the leaves. And that's where we're at when we're coming to the Gran Reserva, and the vast difference within all of these styles for this type of wine and this grape variety of Tempranillo from Spain. We're not even talking about Tempranillo from different places within the world. We're just talking about where it's centered and where you'll find the most Tempranillo. And it's no other way to even go about this. Like, one of the top producers, if not the top producer, you've seen his stuff. It's everywhere. But it's the producer Marquis de Riscal. You've seen it. You've seen a bottle, and then it usually has like this gold netting around it, and it says Rioja. That's like his entry level kind of like offering. Like their winery is just so large, and they have so much wine because they've been doing it since forever. that they can just do whatever. But yeah, so the one with the gold netting around it, like fishnet around it, the whole story behind that is they threw that on there. If it wasn't on there, then it was a counterfeit bottle. So the whole net is to prove that this bottle has been untouched. And that's where you're going to see a lot of on the market space or in the market share of Rioja. It usually has like a white label. It like, looks like a Bordeaux kind of like, label, how classy it is, etc., etc. But that's like the entry level one, bam, where you can expect, just like you can still expect some red fruit. You can get a little bit of like baking spices. It's definitely a Crianza. It's not a Reserva, or it's not a Gran Reserva, even though they do offer those and they have a lot of it. They're one of the only producers that can do that consistently. Outside of them, there's Faustino as well. Faustino, another great producer that has all of this in a tuck as well. But that's going to be like a flagship. That's probably going to be your introduction to Tempranillo from Rioja. If it's not them, it's what is that? Campo. That's another one that's usually everywhere as well. But it's not the same, right? So with this style of wine, you should have tapas, which just mean small plates, right? But to hone in even more, just think of like things on a skewer. Just like no matter if they're grilled or pan seared, you see those like cubed meats, like cubed steaks or whatever, little bites with like some kind of like tomato or bell peppers or whatever, just on the skewer, just looking so good at the barbecue, like kebabs, some people will call them. Yeah, so foods like that you should definitely have. But then of course you can always go with the charcuterie, where it's like dried or cured meats like salami or serrano. Me personally, I really like creamy cheeses or triple cream kind of cheeses. You could do that. That helps out a lot. Like honey, anything with kind of acidity to play with on the charcuterie boards. But those are the kind of dishes that you have with this. outside of it being on its own and you being able to appreciate the freshness of Crianza kind of style wine. But if we're going deeper, now if we're going to the reserva, now you're looking for something a little bit more heavier of dishes. And this is when you can start introducing just like pasta dishes, like here in America, we just do spaghetti, or red sauce pasta dishes. You can do anything like that. But I like arancini. Arancini is just like these like kind of like lightly deep fried rice balls. Ah man, yeah. So you can even do it with arancini using couscous, but make sure you have like a red sauce, like red sauce under it, so you can dip that in just to make it a little bit more complex. Grand Reservas, of course, you would love to have that on its own, but in all seriousness, you can have these. This is something I'm taking to a steakhouse as well. Just because it has all of these well-developed flavors and aromas, and that's going to be able to play off of the tomahawk. That's going to be able to play off of the porterhouse steak. Like, the tannins on these wines are super there. They're grippy. So they're grippy. That's it. They're going to, your mouth is going to be so dried out that it needs something to go with it, and these kind of dishes or these big steaks has just enough oil to balance that out, to reset your palate and to carry more flavors going through and open up. So that's kind of the way that you would like to play that, or that you should play that. I mean, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, there are other options for you as well. So if you're in like the lane of something young like a Crianza, you can do avocado, you can do tofu with sea salt and olive oil drizzled over it on top of like a crostini or something, like it's not limited to whatever your creativity is with these wines. So there you have it. That's Tempranillo in a nutshell. Well, that's Tempranillo from Spain in a nutshell. There's so much more that we can dive into it, and we will. But as far as an introduction, hello, we got somewhere. We did it. So now you'll be able to tell people, Tempranillo, that's a red wine. It's predominantly from Spain. And when I look at the label, I know what all of this means and I know what to expect. And you can really blow someone's mind by going to them and saying, hey, if you want to know what a real Rioja tastes like, you have to get the Reserva, because that's what all the winemakers say, that's a good balance between the fruit forwardness and what represents the land. Boom. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, you know your stuff. And you be like, yes, I know, but there's so much more to it. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. I'm so glad we're on this journey together, and hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully you try out some of the pairings and try out your own. Also, you can always go to the fan mail link, click that, and show some props. Tell me about the pairings you did. Tell me anything. Tell me what you want to hear, what you want to know. Let's start doing that. Or let's continue doing it. Why even start it? Just continue. Don't stop. Alright, hopefully you guys had a good time like I did. And I shall see you next week as we dive into another noble grape red wine. Ciao.